Alright, I have some things I want to include. One of the important points is sheer madness. I want this to be like an I-type dying world.
Okay, so we're going for absolute batshit insanity.
We're going for batshit gothic insanity.
Ah, okay.
At least a horror or spooky flavor.
Okay.
We want good scene setting, you know?
Yeah. Well, we have to show people this world.
Yeah, and also nightmare logic. Not just creepy, like...
Okay, so I'm thinking this is like just getting like a generally horror vibe from this whole thing.
Yeah, I want to appeal to primal fears and paranoias.
Okay.
One of the things I really liked from 40K, as we discussed, is the idea that people around you are being replaced with not people, and I was hoping we could do something like that.
My mind was going to that for some reason as
What
well.
if that's the part of the apocalypse?
It's the invasion of the body snatchers, like, do androids dream of electric sheep thing.
Like, we have a bigger, more obvious apocalypse, and then a subtle one, where the main character realizes that their, like, settlement, their city, their region, is being infiltrated by something. We could do it as, like, a down-the-rabbit-hole, slowly revealing deeper levels of conspiracy thing.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of those. You start with something seemingly innocuous, or something slightly strange.
One idea that we could maybe play off of, a frustration that I have felt a lot, is I'm really into like digital privacy stuff. Digital privacy stuff. I don't know why I can't speak right now. And the listeners might not know that, but anybody who knows me in real life probably knows that. And the thing that often frustrates me about like digital privacy and open source and like right to repair and all of those like associated ideas of basically technology should be controlled by the people who use it, not the people who produce it. Or at least information technology aimed at average people should be controlled by its users, not extremely powerful corporations that are motivated mostly by profit. So going back to infiltrators, there's this sensation that I often feel when talking to people about this kind of thing, that the people around me just don't care. Well, because often they don't.
Yeah, most people don't want to repair their MacBook.
Most people don't want to repair their MacBook, or like they don't even really think that digital privacy is important, which is just bizarre to me. Like these people are willing to just lie down and submit to the evil overlords as they do horrible things behind our backs.
You're not worried about the fact that your credit card score, which controls so much of your ability to do shit, could just be manipulated very easily by somebody.
Yeah. The NSA can probably see what's on your baby monitor. Why? Why do they need that? What the hell, man?
This is why if a guy offers to send me nudes, I'm not going to accept that, because that's a liability.
That would be such a great rap boast. Like,
if you offer me nudes, I'll reject them.
Yeah, like you should work that into a line.
Yeah, that's the point, right? Because that is a liability for you. And yes, it shouldn't be that way, but I'm terrified of the fact that it is that way. This is why our faces are not on Podcastodon.
And it's entirely reasonable to be terrified of that. That makes perfect sense. That's a reasonable reaction. And a lot of people do react that way. And then a lot of people don't. To get back to the invasion of the body snatchers thing, that frustration of like,
why does no one else care?
And more generally, like, why are the people around me so shallow and vapid?
I'm not willing to go that far.
And that's not something that I feel so much anymore, but as a kid, I often had that sensation.
But I think everyone does.
Yeah.
The not caring in my mind is more interesting than the shallow and vapid, because that's been talked about.
To me, it's like they're related. Or, like, generally, society has, like, this script that you're supposed to follow. Here are all the things that you're supposed to do. And a lot of people, not so many people anymore, I feel like this has gotten better since we were kids, but I remember it used to be like everybody just sort of wanted to do what the culture told them to.
I feel like that's a very 2000s thing.
Yeah, I think it's really a lot better now than it used to be, but culture is less homogeneous now.
The demise of the monoculture,
Yeah, the sheeple have awoken.
which in some way, it's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
But I would like to add, hypernormalization talked about this.
Oh yeah. But generally, yeah, like can we play off the whole like vapid submissiveness of the average person under 2000s era capitalism?
That's just getting us into unspoken psychosexual undercurrents.
Well, isn't that also something that you wanted to do?
Yes, which we're going to talk about. Like, vapid and submissive describe just like a sizable section of anime waifus.
And that's what 2000s consumer culture was like.
Everyone wanted to be an anime waifu.
In like a Freudian sense.
Yeah.
So, is there a way that we can do something with that?
I think we can. Let's discuss some other boxes and then we'll get back to it. Big emotional turmoil. I want to have a lot of characters trying to get things from other characters who don't want to give them to them.
That is almost straight up a Disco Elysium line.
Yes, I'm paraphrasing.
Okay, just so long as you're aware.
Other elements. The grotesque. Do we
Yeah.
want to provoke both sympathy and revulsion?
I don't think that we should decide, yes, we want this or don't want this right at the beginning. Rather, we should keep these things in mind, and then later on when we're working on it, we can go, oh, okay, this is the direction that we wanted to be going.
Archetypical characters, also.
People like archetypical characters these days.
I was thinking about it in terms of elemental folklore.
People like pop cultural archetypical characters.
I'm talking about general cultural archetypical characters.
What are some examples of like general archetypical characters?
Tricksters, heroic outlaws, like, you got your tough guy heroes, you got your, like, good and evil father figures, you've got your, like, good and evil love interests, you've got the characters that you have to choose between that represent conflicting moral attitudes. Things about these kinds of characters that, like, illustrate dilemmas and problems that people face commonly.
Lucasian characters.
Yeah, like, the heroic outlaw is very important because it represents the person who can do the things you want to do but can't.
Well, for me personally, the heroic outlaw character and the gender fluid trickster character overlap a lot. The trickster doesn't have to be gender fluid. It is weirdly common.
That makes sense, because that character represents something, a character that can do the things you wish you could do, which is to exist totally outside of gender norms.
And social norms in general, because tricksters generally, that's kind of their deal.
As well as the outlaw who can, like, get even with all of the people who would be too much work for you to actually get even with.
Yeah.
People talk about the social bandit and how it's like class warfare or robbing from the rich to give to the poor. I feel like that's not essential. They just need to rob from the rich. They don't actually need to help people like you. They just need to be able to harm the people you wish you could harm.
Maybe we have a gender fluid trickster outlaw character.
The archetypical thing that I was thinking about for this story, to go with big emotional turmoil and psychosexual undercurrents, is that you have like a big extended friend or social group that's turning on each other. That's an archetypical idea. That's something people experience. And it works with the psychosexual aspect and the emotional aspect and the paranoia.
Yeah.
You have perhaps people who have been friends for a long time, and now something is pitting them against each other. Or it could be like a social unit, like a family unit, or people who are all in the same community.
Is that the dying world thing then? It's a dying world, but the world is really small. Like, the setting is just this community who are all turning on each other.
You know what's good? It's a dying city. The money, the industry that supported the city is no longer relevant, and no new money is coming in.
This is just Detroit.
Yes, I want to do science fantasy Detroit.
I've been thinking a lot about gang things. So, what if it's like there are two gangs that used to be allies?
Well, not two gangs that used to be allies. I think it should be one gang that's split. Actually, better yet, what if it's just like things used to be normal and then gangs form when the money starts going away?
This is the money goes away instead of the magic goes away. What if that actually no? What if that's a whole metaphor? Like the magic going away is about the money going away. So magic in this universe requires wealth.
What if magic was the industry?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like magic in this universe requires expensive material components to do. Like in order to be a wizard, you have to be rich.
No, they're running out of magic.
Oh, they're running out of like the material components.
Worldwide.
It's peak magic.
Yeah, people can cope with this in other parts of the world. The issue is that the world no longer needs these people.
This used to be like the big magic city, and
now it's dying.
And it's dying
because it's just getting harder and harder to secure the requisite magic stuff.
Interesting. I like this kind of association of magic with wealth because wizard robes in fantasy are already like stereotypically really ornate. You know, like they have gold leaf and stuff. Or gold thread. Not gold leaf. You don't paint clothes, really.
Actually, what would be cool is there's like an apprentice who's trying to make journeyman in the wizard organization. And so you have this like tragic goal of the guy who's trying to get validated and move to acceptance in a dying industry.
That's interesting. So, is there like an alternative to magic?
I think that's the idea.
Or it could be like the fossil fuel industry where they're trying really hard to make people think that everything is fine. But meanwhile, the price of magic wizard services is just getting more and more expensive. But there's like tons of like advertising and propaganda put out to try to make people think that actually, no, the magic is fine.
We'll table that.
Okay.
We don't need to resolve everything right away, but I like the beginnings of this, of the magic is going away and people are having to resort to more mundane methods to do things.
Yeah.
Like, imagine for a moment you had like a society with a Bronze Age level of tech that was able to advance to modern through magic.
Yeah.
And now that the magic is going away, people are going to have to revert back to Bronze Age tech.
Yeah, I like the dynamic of not everybody is... a lot of people are in denial about that.
One of the fun things to have in this kind of story is a decadent aristocracy.
Yeah.
That's holed itself up and is trying to pretend that this isn't happening.
The decadent wizard aristocracy. Or the people who buy wizard services.
Or just the aristocracy of this city that was rich. But the most cool thing to do is when they seal themselves off from the outside world so they can go really crazy in their big elaborate manners.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a vague idea of like what this is, right? We got the wizards who make
magic.
They make magic and they make bank, but they're like running out of resources, and so the magic is going away. And there are the rich people who buy these services who are holed up in their mansions trying to pretend that everything is fine. And there's lots of like misinformation and propaganda going out about how everything is actually fine and the magic is not going away and we're fine. Maybe there's like some hypothetical source of more materials that they are like trying to convince everybody is real or something like that. Anyway, we have a basic setup. Where's the story?
I would like to add one additional thing. I want to include an element of fair folk type stuff, because one of the best types of unspoken sexual tension is when you have two societies that hate and do not understand each other.
So, two possibilities. The fair folk also need these resources. The fair folk can only be contacted by using these resources.
I don't like the last one.
Why?
Because limiting contact means that you can't have character stuff between them.
That could be part of the character's drama, though, right? Like, you want to talk to this person, but you can only see them.
The one you're describing is going to result in tragic pining, not characters who can't deal with each other being forced to interact, which is what I feel is closer to what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And specifically, not just hate, but do not understand. That's the thing. The alien.
Yeah.
So what is the plot?
If the fair folk are hard to contact, we could have some like Lovecraftian thing about trying to search for the power of these alien beings.
No, I have a thing I want to deal with. I imagine that the fair folk are part of this journey down the rabbit hole, you know?
So their existence is not widely known.
Yeah, the main character finds out about them as they're trying to investigate this mystery.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that's gonna go. I still like this idea of the trickster character.
So here's how I imagine it. You have multiple layers to this story. The first element of this is the dying city Detroit thing, where you have people who used to be friends getting into gangs. And there was this line from Loading Ready from an Unskippable about, except now the frivolous street gang of our youth has become an actual criminal outfit that kills people. And I think that's kind of what's happened.
Yeah.
These guys are friends, but their social circle has turned dark.
So there are gangs
Who might have been around in the past, but it was nicer when they were just teenagers.
Yeah, so we got the gangs fighting each other.
And the dying town and that bullshit.
Okay, I still like the idea of having a trickster character as like the protagonist. Or no, what if instead of one trickster, usually the trickster is like a lone character, right?
Yeah.
They're one person. But what if instead it is the last podcast on the left trio of the nerd, the flim flam man, and the Maudib? It's the classic con artist trio.
So the main character starts investigating this innocuous mystery that reveals the fair folk and the doppelgangers and maybe some kind of broader hidden world.
Do you think as part of this they also discover that the magic actually is finite, that they don't have another source? Or do you think that's like sort of an open secret?
That's an open secret because I want it to permeate everything.
Yeah, okay. But I feel like conspiracy should be some deeper conspiracy by the magic companies. It just makes more sense to me if they're already plotting one thing, that it makes sense that they would be plotting other things.
They're going to more and more drastic lengths to get magic, perhaps.
My mind is just going back to the fossil fuel industry. What are some things that the fossil fuel industry has actually done? They have fabricated lots of research. They've tried to look like they're on the forefront of like clean energy when they definitely aren't. What if there's some kind of price fixing scheme? Like people are intentionally destroying magic components in order to drive up the price? How can we work the Fae into this, though?
I imagine that the main character's adventures trying to figure out what this is about take them into the Fae world.
Is the Fae world where they get the magic components?
Perhaps there is, like, a race to try to get the remaining bits of magic.
Do you think they get them from the Fae world, or what? Maybe they, like, secretly invaded the Fae world.
The problem is that I kind of want the Fae to have more power than the humans.
What if it's the reverse? What if the Fae are, like, secretly controlling the human
That's good.
stuff?
The humans are secret collaborators.
The Fae are so magical because, like, they use all of this magic.
They're accelerating the end of our magic.
Yeah, the human world is where the magic comes from, and the Fae just import it. Or they used up all their own, but regardless, they get it from us. But the human leaders are secret collaborators.
Yeah, and that gives us the really nice unspoken psychosexual dynamic because the humans have been cucked on an unbelievably massive scale. Humans have been cucked by their leadership.
Yeah, and then we could have, like, the victory of the trickster protagonist is to con the Fae out of a bunch of magic stuff. Also, beating the Fae in some kind of battle of wits is a classic archetypical thing.
Also, we should have, like, some kind of Fae person. I'm automatically assuming it's a lady, but it doesn't have to be, who is, like, does not respect the main character because they've been cucked by their leadership. They don't respect the humans because they've successfully manipulated their leaders.
If the protagonist is gender fluid, that would make a really great reversal because they trick this lady into thinking they're a different person, a different female person, and seduce her so that she has been on a metaphorical level, on some strange level, reverse cucked.
Counter cucked.
Yeah. And also, on a strange level, the protagonist has been cucked by themselves.
Here's the problem. I think that's rape.
Tricking somebody into thinking that you're someone else in order to have sex
Having
with them.
sex with someone who believes you're someone else.
They don't have to actually have sex. They just have to con them successfully. I also kind of like the idea of the Fae character, instead of a woman, being a dude.
Yeah, I have this thing about, like, weird stoic men having fraught relationships with women who don't respect them, but, like, that's me.
The basic overall plot involves the main character is some kind of like con artist, and they find out about how the human government are collaborators, and they're working with the Fae, who need the magic resources from the human world to power their magic. And that's one of the things that is depleting the magic resources in the human world.
I like the idea of a trickster character, but I feel like con artists are kind of overdone.
You think con artist protagonists are overdone?
Yeah, don't you think so? Con artist protagonists. Well, there was that whole anime about con artists that got popular recently, and Mob Psycho. It might just be anime, actually.
Yeah, I think it's just anime. I don't know. Well, they don't have to be a con artist.
Yeah, just a general trickster.
What kind of job they have, though? Tricksters don't tend to be stable people. Like, they don't have to have stable lives.
What if they're just a shitty unemployed slacker?
Yeah, I think that being a trickster incentivizes you to move from place to place. People don't tend to fall for the same thing twice.
I thought it was that this main character is like the deadbeat in the friend group.
But then, like, how do they get involved in this conspiracy then?
We should go back to what we discussed earlier, because in previous discussions about this, we talked about the idea that maybe the main character should be a apprentice or a journeyman in the magic production, because there was something interesting about the character trying to get validated in a dying industry.
What if they're like at the magic school, but they have terrible grades, but they get some kind of internship? Maybe there's some kind of like magic tycoon who happens to be there. He recognizes a fellow flim-flam man.
I have a problem with this, with the magic school thing, because I feel like magic should be a trade. It shouldn't be an internship, it should be an apprenticeship.
But the main character meets some kind of like high-rolling person. And it's a sort of like, not exactly game recognizes game situation, but you know how like people who are good at talking tend to become friends with each other.
I mean, going back to like the whole thing about folklore, having an apprentice who's also a trickster and a slacker is reasonable.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to get more food and do less work.
But anyway, the archetype of the apprentice, the slacker.
Archetype of the apprentice who has maybe left their home to go out into the world, and this is the first thing that they're doing seriously into the world. That's one of the archetypical things that happens in folklore, right?
Yeah.
You become an adult, you're cast out into the world, you go out on the road, and, you take up an apprenticeship, and you have to solve the problems that come through here in trickery. The main character then should be an outsider to this world.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm beginning to see how this goes. So the main character and a group of their friends all go to the city to take up apprenticeships. And the whole aspect of the friends turning on each other happens once they get to the city and realize that it's in decline. And they start to have trouble finding work. And gangs are involved.
Yeah. And the main character finds some, like, rich person.
They get hired.
Yeah.
We are seeing you and I's competing employment histories in how we describe this, I've noticed.
No, I'm just thinking, like, how do they actually find out about the conspiracy? Because it can't be something that just, like, random people know about. Otherwise, it's not a conspiracy.
I thought the main character finds something seemingly innocuous, like an abandoned notary for some weird stuff, and they, like, go to a warehouse because they wonder why someone would need all of this. And then at the warehouse, they see new stuff, and the new stuff leads them to...
An abandoned notary?
a piece of paper with some stuff written on it on the street.
Oh.
You see one of those, that's nothing but potential. Or maybe the main character sees weird shit go down outside their apartment. I didn't imagine this coming from the rich people end of the conspiracy, but the, like, lowest end of the conspiracy.
They're not intentionally told about it. They find out by accident.
That's how I want to do a conspiracy story.
Okay.
It's all about the pursuit, which is a perfect thing for a possibly unemployed person to get really involved in.
Yeah. What if they're working for this guy and they get a bunch of weird orders and they try to like track down what the orders are about?
Yeah, it's very important to me that the main character not be able to confer with anybody about this. Because, like, as soon as the main character starts seeing weird shit go down, it becomes hard for them to, like, talk to people about it.
Huh.
You know? Partly that's saved by the fact that the friendship is falling apart. That gives us a good excuse for why they can't talk to their friends.
Yeah.
About what's going on.
Maybe, like, they see something weird and they try to report it to the police and the police try to arrest.
Yeah, because the police are, of course, in on it. And also the main character is doing a bunch of weird shit poking around, like, other people's stuff.
Maybe it's not normal police. Maybe it's like Imperial Thunder Guards or whatever.
No, what if it's the men in black suits?
The men in black cloaks.
Yeah, you know, like not uniformed police, but some kind of non-specific government functionary shows up.
The police of the interior.
I think the Bureau of the Interior might be better.
The Bureau of the Interior.
Because our goal is to just saturate the audience in paranoia.
Is this supposed to be like vaguely medieval fantasy?
I was imagining it more as science fantasy.
Because I was thinking, like, if it's vaguely medieval, it should be some, like, meaningless medieval term, like landsman.
I was gonna say the Provost Marshal.
Provost Marshal. Yeah.
The landsman might still work if it's sci-fi.
Yeah.
I imagined it as being like I Divine Cybermancy.
There are certain position names that are like feudal gibberish. Like, Provost is good, but it also has like a very university connotation.
The Provost Marshal.
But I like landsman.
Yeah, the landsmen come for them.
At some point, this ends up with them talking to the Fae.
As I imagine it, the weird slip of paper leads them to a shop, and, like, they figure out the code word from observing people going into the shop. It's like the gelato shop scene in Alpha Protocol.
Oh! I forgot about the gelato shop. That was so strange.
That's the best part of Alpha Protocol. We can agree on that, right?
Yeah, the gelato shop was great.
You just wander into a different spy story for a minute.
Yeah. Also, I love that Alpha Protocol's motto is Quod nemo sequi potest, which is supposed to mean where no one can follow, but I think it actually means that which no one can follow.
Because Alpha Protocol's plot is impossible to follow.
Yes. So anyway, Alfalfa Protocol.
Yeah, we're going that which no one can follow. Yeah, the slip of paper leads them to a shop where there's some kind of weird dude who talks to them in code.
What is the purpose of this shop?
Well, I imagine the shop was like a front organization for whatever it is that's going on.
Well, they need to ship magic material to the Fae, right? Actually, here's an important question. How do you get into the Fae world?
I imagine it happens underground. Like Pellucidar.
Do you have to do mushrooms to get into the Fae world?
I imagine that there are service tunnels. Part of me truly believes that all service tunnels eventually lead to a magical underworld.
Kind of like the back rooms.
Yeah, only better, because we made it.
Yeah, so there are these service tunnels that lead to the Fae world. Do you suppose that a human going into the Fae world would get immediately arrested?
No, I think the main character is able to blend in by pretending they're making some kind of delivery.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the other points. We should keep the number of, like, out-and-out confrontations low in favor of ratcheting up tension.
Okay, so the main character can, like, sneak in there by pretending to be a delivery person.
Or just, like, looking inconspicuous.
Yeah, wearing a badge and carrying a clipboard.
Yeah.
So they wander around the Fae world for a while.
And first of all, the Fae world, there should be a big moment of revelation when you go through all of the tunnels and then you open it up and suddenly there's just a whole underground city.
Yeah.
They've been going through service doors for a while.
Yeah. Okay, so we need to have them figure out somehow. Well, no. It's actually probably pretty obvious that the Fae are using tons of magic just by, like, looking at their buildings, right? Like, their society.
I just realized this is this is a great way to, like, slowly amp up the nightmare logic. You get deeper and deeper into the Fey world.
Yeah. Just to really hammer the point home, what if there's some kind of bug that is used, like an insect of some kind that produces magic, and those are, like, stated earlier to be really rare. The protagonist goes in and, like, sees a shipment of these being delivered there.
And early on, we can establish, like, the main character, like, delivers 2 of them, and this is considered a very important assignment.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be a delivery of a huge number, because that implies that this amount is still being transported. There's, like, a horde of them, is what they see.
Yeah, but, like a small number being delivered to that horde to make it clear that they're not coming from here, they're coming to here.
Yeah.
So they end up in, like, a warehouse and see, like, a couple of the magic bugs being delivered. So, okay. So they wander around a bit.
Yeah, we established tone for a while.
Yeah. They don't have any money, probably, right? Because the whole thing is they're shit broke.
Yeah.
Maybe, like, they're hungry, so they steal from, like, a market stall or something. And they get caught, and they get arrested. And at this point, like, the game is almost up because, well, okay, so maybe we shouldn't do this right now because I don't know how they get out of being arrested. But I think at some point they should get arrested because it is very likely that they will be found out if they're arrested. It would be a good way to ratchet up tension, is what I'm saying.
Well, here's my thing, right? I think we should instead break up the trips into the underworld into multiple parts. The main character sees it once, they start to get heat down on them, and so they escape. And that's when things start getting weird on the surface. That's when the, like, people getting replaced starts to happen. Right?
What is the point of the people being replaced?
As I see it, the idea is that once the main character gets the knowledge of the other world, their mundane world starts to change. The idea is that the weirdness and danger is going to follow you home, but not, like, in obvious ways.
What if it's like the Fae are looking for them, and so they impersonate people who are close to them?
I kind of like the idea that the 2 conspiracies are not actually related to each other. We set it up like it's going to be, but for maximum loose ends, only one of them gets resolved.
Well, that's certainly easier to write.
Like, how I want to do the alternate people is the main character discovers there's a community of them, like, living in the attic of their apartment. And they've been, like, scrounging and stealing, like, furniture and stuff. It turns out that all of their friends are part of this now. And it might just be that this is how they've dealt with being poor. But also, there's something off about the attic people. And so more and more of their friends become attic people because it's very cost effective. But also, that's just what they say. Maybe they're actually body snatchers using their identities to score more stuff.
This sounds like one of those a strange movie from the 80s.
Do you not see the appeal, though?
Yeah. Yeah, that could work. We could do that.
And, like, the main character thinks there's a connection between the attic people and the underworld.
And it's just never resolved.
We find out that the Fae don't know about it either.
That's so strange and so good.
Actually, this was Dad's idea originally.
Really?
Specifically, the idea of a story where the main character discovers a community of slightly off people who are living, like, on the margins of society, existing off of our, like, discarded stuff. And they partially interact with the normal world and partially don't, and it's never fully clear whether they're human.
Okay, so we've got the attic people plot line.
The attic people subplot. So the main character is inevitably tempted to go back down.
So they go back down. At some point they meet this, like, Fae lady, right?
Yeah,
right?
So the main character tries to figure out a better subterfuge so that they can get more information about this world.
What would be
a better subterfuge?
Do the Fae look human-like? They probably can't disguise themselves as a Fae.
I didn't imagine them being that different. I think they could do it.
Okay, so they disguise themselves as a Fae, and then they go back to the Fae world and try to figure out what's going on. And they do this by...
Maybe it's related to their job, their apprenticeship.
What do you mean?
They name drop their employer and say they're working for them.
That doesn't make much sense with them being a Fae. Like, why would the Fae respect this human?
The main character realizes that the Fae and certain humans are doing business, right?
Yeah, maybe they name dropped one of the names of the people on the piece of paper they found.
Oh, that's good.
So they're like, I'm working for this person. And then they use that to try to uncover more information. Maybe they say they're like inspecting shipments or something. And so they see all of these like expensive things being shipped here.
Yeah.
So then maybe they also overhear something about like, we're not getting very many shipments. Like, these resources are running out. So they're like, okay, these resources are finite. This is where a lot of them are going, but there's still a limited amount. They're like, well, this kind of sucks because the human world has a lot less resources because of this, right?
Yeah, they're milking us for already strained resources.
What do you think the main character does at this?
Just a sec, I need to elaborate on a thought. I feel like the Fey world used to have its own magic, but they ran out of it.
Maybe the main character, in the process of this, the main character meets the elf lady, the Fey lady, this person that they're sort of antagonistic, sort of love interest, sort of like weird.
The main
character.
Representation of this world to them.
Yeah. They meet this person. This person's like, is onto them pretty quickly. And she's like, basically like, don't even think about trying to steal anything. No, actually, the main character tries to steal some shit. And the elf lady finds them. And then maybe in exchange for keeping the main character's secret, she wants them to do something.
Alright, let me think about this for a minute. Actually, the main character just wants money. Remember?
Yeah.
So, what if the main character starts taking jobs for one of the Fae? And they're just, like, all equally weird and conspiracy-y.
Deliver this thing to this place. The password is coal custard. When the man gives you the hand sign, do not respond.
Yeah, like, walk backwards 18 steps.
Yeah. Okay, so what if the main character meets the elf lady, and instead of being because the main character tried to steal something, it's just because they want a job and they're broke, and she keeps hiring them to do weird things and acts in a generally condescending way toward them. Eventually, the main character, like, they stay in the Fey world for a while, like, doing these jobs, and they sort of get into a rhythm of that, and then they come back to the human world, and they see how everything has gone to utter shit at this point. Their friends have all been replaced with doppelgangers. The gangs are killing each other in the streets. Everybody's low on magic shit.
Their employer hates them.
Their employer hates them because they didn't show up for a long time.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. The main character comes up to discover they've spent like 8 days underground.
Yeah.
Without really realizing it.
Yeah. Their employer hates them. The gangs are at each other's throats. Their friends have all been substituted, and they're like, everything sucks here. The Fae have all of our stuff. That's why everything sucks. And they still
want us to do shit for them.
And they still want us to do shit for them. And so the main character decides to go back, disguises themselves as a female Fae, and like flirts with the elf lady who doesn't recognize them, in order to steal the keys to like some vault or something off of her. And then they go and get into the vault.
My only request is that the thing in the vault should be, like, some kind of materials, not cash. Documents. Is that okay?
You could do something really good with this. Like, maybe it's something they had to retrieve earlier. Something that's alluded to in hushed tones. Maybe it's like a briefcase or something that they don't know what's in it, but it's really valuable. And then they go to the vault and steal the briefcase. and then they open up the briefcase and it's some kind of like creature, like it's a larva of some creature.
That's pretty good.
And they bring it back.
Should the creature bond itself to them?
Oh.
In my mind, that is the most obvious nightmare logic option.
Maybe the creature is like a sort of leech thing that like wraps itself around their head and attaches to one of their eyes, and then they can shoot laser beams from the eye, that eye. God, there are some good ways that you could go with this. Or maybe it's like a creature that they eat and then they undergo some kind of metamorphosis and they ascend to demigodhood by consuming the larva of this thing. That's kind of just Bloodborne.
Yeah, it's better if it bonds to the character. Parasites are creepier.
But, like, I kind of like the idea that it causes them to ascend.
I think the effects should not be obviously clear. You know that scene in Prey?
Yeah.
When you're looking at your eye and it's red? I want to do something like that. I want to do weird physical changes that, like... Have you ever woken up with a rash and just had this sinking feeling?
I cannot say that I have.
Okay, so that kind of, ruins my example. It's not exactly body horror. It's like, things start changing about your body and you're not scared, you just know that they can't be good. It's like when I got hand, foot, and mouth disease.
See, you have a lot more experience with skin diseases than I do.
Which is funny because your face still has acne scars.
Yes, the one skin disease that I have is acne.
My history of disease is, I guess, more interesting than yours.
Yeah, thankfully I have managed to avoid a lot of diseases.
I once had to get a toe lanced. Anyway, I think that there's something we could go with here.
I want to say, like, they undergo some kind of metamorphosis, but I want to say there's some kind of ascension aspect to it. Like, I think we should make it clear that it was a good idea for them to bond with this thing. Like, because just the thing attaches itself to them as a parasite. That's just like normal horror shit. But if it's like they intentionally attach it to themselves and that causes them to become like more or like higher or more powerful in a way that's hard to strictly define, that's cool. No, maybe their friends like find them with this thing attached to them and they're just like utterly serene and they're just like, I understand now or something.
I was thinking visions. I imagined visions, voices, try to drip feed more clues.
Oh, we just, like, very quickly through a series of, like, cryptic images, we explain the rest of the backstory.
There's one problem. We need to also provide more loose ends.
What?
Every time we explain something, we need to provide additional loose ends.
What if it's just the history of this creature?
Oh, that's good. It's a brainworm.
Yeah, within the last couple minutes of, like, the story, or within, like, the last, like, 10 minutes of the movie, it just becomes a different story that explains the history of this brainworm.
I have one request. There is one thing we need closure on. We need a confrontation and emotional resolution with the main character and the Fae. I think there needs to be a thing where the main character tries to get one over on the conspiracy somehow.
Well, I thought the idea of them getting one over on the conspiracy was that they stole this thing. That was what that was.
It would be kind of cool if the twist at the end is that the MacGuffin is something super ordinary, like a brainworm.
Yeah, but it has some like important information on it, which is why it was so heavily guarded.
I think the fairy, the temptress, the siren of this thing should try to get the brainworm back. And they have like a noir type, like emotionally charged confrontation in like a parking garage or an alley or a cafe where it's just them and the waiter. One of those locations.
Like, if it's just them and the waiter, like, tackles them or something. Or, like, saves the protagonist.
With them walking out but the scene lingers on the waiter. The story ends with them walking out, but the scene lingers on the waiter.
locking the waiter in.
Yeah, well, they leave. The waiter locks the restaurant. It's late. It's closing time, I guess. And then, if this was a movie, we'd pan to the waiter's little, like, order pad where they've transcribed the entire conversation they've had, and now the waiter is in on the conspiracy.
Wait, so would this be in the human world? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Fae lady disguises herself as a human to come to the human world, and then...
They meet at, like, a diner. And it's perfect because it's also a commentary on how nobody notices the waiter.
I guess that's a good thing, is if the waiter ends... Like, it implies that the conspiracy is going to eventually come out, is what that is saying by putting that as the last scene.
Or rather, I was not going to say that the conspiracy is eventually going to come out. It's that people are going to keep going on this journey, is the message.
Oh, like somebody else is going to do the same thing that the main character did, sort of?
That the waiter is going to have their own bizarre experience.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
So the question is, how do we resolve the confrontation? The only two appropriate resolutions, as I see it, are a romantic/sexual resolution or a pragmatic resolution. The ending is satisfying if they either end up together or the main character is able to get one over on them. If the main character is somehow able to outmaneuver the fey creature and walk away with the brain slug, that's a satisfying ending. If the main character takes the hush money because they really need it, which I feel is one of the possibilities, that's at least a reminder that that's kind of a satisfying ending, because it's about how people like justice, but they like supporting themselves more.
What if the main character takes the hush money and gives the Fey Lady a fake brainworm?
What if the Fey Lady tries to blackmail them? Because blackmail is more reliable than bribery when it comes to keeping people quiet.
Yeah.
Because fear is more powerful than the honor of someone you've bought off. What if they try to get to them via their friends?
Well, the main character kind of has no self-respect, though, right?
What do you mean?
Like, they're just at absolutely rock bottom. They're completely broke. Their friends have all been replaced by doppelgangers, by attic people. So what reason do they have to care what other people think of them?
What if instead of that, they offer them the opportunity to get some of their friendships back? The Fae can somehow repair what's happening.
I kind of like the idea of the ending being the Fae is like, give me back the brainworm, or I tell everybody that you stole it and your reputation is ruined and you can never get a job again.
Or that you stole from your employer. That you stole it from your employer because the employer should be a collaborator.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that's how they find the slip of paper at the beginning, is that it's their employers.
So the Fae is like, okay, give me back the brainworm, or I will tell everybody that you stole from your employer, and you'll never be able to get a job again.
You will be blacklisted from the guild. You will be you'll be blacklisted by the association of.
I like the idea that the main character calls her bluff and is like, "Nah, this conspiracy stuff is my life now. I don't that the old life is not for me."
Also, possibly, my life has been so thoroughly ruined that you can't ruin it any further. Like, I haven't been at work for weeks. No one's going to hire me anyway, given how tightly knit the magic community is. And also, I'm losing my goddamn mind and may be unemployable. I've turned into a paranoid lunatic. No one's going to employ me. I can't go back to work because I have seen too much.
That.
And so the main character just walks away with the brainworm.
But with the knowledge that the brainworm contains.
What are you going to do? Kill me? You'd kill the brainworm, too. You would either need to somehow secretly sedate me to get the brainworm surgically removed, or, like, have me submit to you, which we've established I will not do emotionally or pragmatically. And so the main character walks out. The elf walks out down a different street. And then, voila, closing shot. The waiter has transcribed the whole conversation.
I think that's it.
Okay, I think
this
we've
works.
wrapped it. Actually, we've kind of even pulled in the dying world element at the end. Oh, that's it. There's one thing we forgot to add. The main character's argument should not be, I have, my life is over. It's that your power in the magic industry won't help you, because the magic industry is dying. That's why they have no leverage over the main character. The source of your money that makes you untouchable is drying up. And that's how we make it a perfect dying world story. I didn't think we would come up with a conclusion that tight.
That all, actually surprisingly worked. Loki Street Station Souls sounds pretty good.
I've been Goon number 3.
And I've been, I can't fucking remember.
Some kind of cyber neko?
Cybernecotic. That's awful. That doesn't work at all.
Why are you you've been some kind of cat cyborg. But I'm pretty sure I'm Goon number 3.
Yeah. I've been some type of cat cyborg.
And I've been Goon number 3. And this has been the Podcastodon.
It has indeed.
Against all odds.
Thank you, and good night.
Good night. I'm going away to sea today. I'm going away to sea. I'm going away to sea today. I'm going away to sea. I run from the men of the Tsar today. I run from the men of the Tsar. I run from the men of the Tsar today. They're on the hunt for me. They're on the hunt for me. I'm going away to sea today. I'm going away to sea. I'm going to Istanbul today. I'm going away to sea. I run from the men of the Tsar today, but don't despair for me. But don't despair for me. You know I'll always be free, my boy. You know I'll always be free. I'm going away to sea. I'm going away to Istanbul. I'm going away to sea. Across the Black Sea. I'm going away today. Bring my pistol and my sword today. I'm going away, away. A musket and the ball today. I'm going away to sea. And black powder today. A sword for me today. A bottle of wine today. I'm going away to sea today. I'm going away to sea. Don't bother to search for me, my boy. Don't bother to search for me. I've already gone away. I've already gone away. I've gone away to sea, my boy. I've gone away to sea. I run from the men of the Tsar today. I run from the men of the Tsar. A pistol on my hip today. A pistol on my hip. Running away to sea, my boy, I'm running away to sea. Aboard a bold galley, aboard a bold galley. I'm going away to Istanbul, aboard a bold galley. I'm taking on the rose, I'm taking upon the rose. It's time to set my flight, my boy, it's time to make my flight. My ass is really tight. Don't fuck with me if you think, my boy. Don't fuck with me if you think. I got fucking 6 bottles of wine and a fucking Molotov cocktail. Don't fuck with me. I'm a goddamn bandit, and I got I got metal in my shoes, baby. I got metal in my shoes. If I kick you, it hurts. You understand? I'm fucking full of cocaine, full of weed, full of LSD. My head is fucking rolling, and I'm gonna build a railgun. I got a railgun. I got 75 kilograms of just raw black powder because I'm an old-timey bandit. I got fists made out of brass and fucking fingers that make people come, you know? I go down. Like, don't fuck with me, because I am a goddamn fuck machine with, like, also stealing. I am a stealing and fuck machine. I am a heroic outlaw. I'm on the run. Don't even worry about it. Like, it's too fucking late already. Like, seriously, it's late. You ought to go to bed. Don't fight me. Go to bed. Like, I'm coming for all of you. This whole game, I'm taking it over. Like, this is now me. It's all me now. Don't fuck with me. It's like 75% of the 75% can't handle me. It's too much. And you understand that, like, I won't fuck your girlfriend, but I will fuck your sister. And your male cousins. But not your female cousins, because, like, I'm busy with your sister. And, like, also I'm an expert horseman, like some kind of medieval knight. Like, you have to understand, it's impossible. Just don't even think about it, right? Just don't. That's the moral of this story. Just fucking don't.